Well, this was a heist for the San Francisco Giants. I mean, this is a very lopsided trade for Buster Posey and the Giants.
Giants are in an interesting position because they've already made their big trade. They've got Devers on the team, and they've gotten worse since then. Since the Devers trade, Red Sox 17-9 since this trade. They're the second best team in baseball since the Devers trade. They're the most valuable team in baseball when it comes to the DH position.
What if I told you that one single trade executed on the most peaceful day in baseball, Father's Day, would completely change the course for two franchises? On June 15th, 2025, while families across America celebrated fathers and baseball's timeless tradition, two organizations made a decision that would rewrite the narrative of an entire season. One team thought they were buying a championship. The other thought they were admitting defeat on the season. They were both extremely wrong. Trust me, this gets crazy. The Boston Red Sox just completed one of the most shocking trade reversals in sports history. The San Francisco Giants, meanwhile, are living through what might be the most expensive mistake of the decade. And at the center of it all, a $313.5 million superstar whose story proves that talent without chemistry is just expensive noise. But before we get into it, we have a huge giveaway going on our road to 25,000 subscribers. Anyone who is subscribed with notifications on is entered into a raffle to get an MLB official jersey. We're giving one away every single week. So if you haven't already done that, please do that now. And let me know in the comments below which jersey you would want. Now that that's out of the way, let's get right into it.
Swinging a shot, driven back toward the wall, it's way back there.
Picture this scene. Fenway Park, June 15th, 2025. The Red Sox have just obliterated their most hated rivals, the New York Yankees, in a statement 3-game sweep. Boston fans are euphoric. The energy is electric. Everything feels possible. Then, in the span of a single afternoon, the entire trajectory of two franchises changes forever. Rafael Devers, slashing .272, .401, .504 with 15 home runs, and carrying the hopes of Red Sox Nation, gets traded to the San Francisco Giants in what appeared to be the most lopsided deal of the year. The immediate reaction was almost unanimous. The Giants had just executed a perfect heist. Here's why everyone thought San Francisco won this trade in a landslide. They desperately needed offensive power. Despite elite pitching, they ranked a dismal 15th in runs scored and 23rd in OPS. And adding a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, and a World Series champion to their lineup, that looked like championship math. Meanwhile, Boston appeared to be waving the white flag on the season, trading their franchise cornerstone for Kyle Harrison, a struggling lefty, Jordan Hicks, an expensive reliever the Giants wanted to dump, and a couple of prospects most fans couldn't pronounce. It looked like organizational surrender. ESPN's initial trade analysis was brutal for Boston, declaring the Giants had acquired one of the game's best hitters while the Red Sox got potential. But here's the thing about obvious narratives in sports. Sometimes they're hiding the most extraordinary reversals of fortune you're gonna ever see. But as diehard Red Sox fans would tell you, this trade wasn't really about baseball at all. It was actually the climax of months of organizational warfare that threatened to destroy everything the Red Sox were building. Yahoo Sports later called what happened in Boston an absolute shit show, and that might have been an understatement. You see, the chaos began this past winter when Boston signed Alex Bregman to a 3-year, $120 million contract. Suddenly, Rafael Devers, the face of the franchise at that point, the guy they just committed over $300 million to, was being asked to vacate third base for a newcomer. And Devers didn't just disagree with this decision, he went to war over it. Multiple sources confirmed that Devers initially refused the position change outright and even considered demanding a trade immediately after the Bregman signing. The relationship between player and organization was already fracturing, but the breaking point was still to come. Then disaster struck. Tristan Casas suffered a season-ending knee injury in early May. The Red Sox, now desperate for first base help, approached their $300+ million designated DH about temporarily playing the field. Devers' response was swift and decisive. Absolutely not. Now, the public confrontation was extraordinary. Devers told reporters through an interpreter, "I don't think, for me personally, it's the best decision after they asked me to play a different position in spring training, and I only had 2 months playing this position to all of a sudden have me try to play another position." But wait, it gets worse. According to the Boston Globe's inside reporting, Devers had completely withdrawn from team culture. He was arriving late to the ballpark, keeping his AirPods in to avoid teammates, and leaving immediately after games. The $300+ million franchise cornerstone had become a clubhouse cancer. Red Sox president Sam Kennedy finally dropped the hammer with this ice-cold statement. We had certain expectations that went with that contract, and when we came to the conclusion that we did not have a full alignment, we moved on. Translation, you're not bigger than the organization. Goodbye. So, on Father's Day, with the Red Sox riding high after demolishing the Yankees, both sides decided to end their toxic marriage. The Giants took on Devers' entire remaining contract, approximately $250 million through 2033. In return, Boston received their package of Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, and prospect James Tibbs, San Francisco's 2024 first-round pick, and pitching prospect Jose Bayo. At that moment this trade was announced, the narrative was crystal clear. San Francisco, who had a record of 39-31, one game behind the Dodgers, were championship contenders, adding the final piece to the World Series puzzle. And Boston, who had a 37-36 record, mediocre and directionless, were showing another historic franchise giving up on the present to maybe, possibly, hopefully build for an uncertain future. Almost every expert, almost every analyst, and every fan had this figured out. The Giants were winners, the Red Sox were sellers. Case closed. Here's where this story goes completely, utterly, mind-blowingly insane. Since June 15th, the exact day of this trade, the results have been the complete opposite of what everyone predicted. Not slightly different, not marginally unexpected, the complete opposite. The Boston Red Sox are 27-16 since trading away Rafael Devers. That's a .628 winning percentage and the third best record in all of Major League Baseball over this stretch. And also, as of this recording, the San Francisco Giants are 13-24 since acquiring their expensive superstar. Literally, I kid you not, the worst record in baseball since the trade. Now, let me repeat that because it's absolutely crazy. The team that supposedly lost this trade has been the third best team in baseball since making it, and the team that won this trade has been the absolute worst team in baseball. The Giants have collapsed from 1 game behind the Dodgers to 9 games back. Their playoff odds have cratered from about 65% to a pathetic sub 13%. They've lost 11 of their last 13 games and are in complete organizational freefall. Meanwhile, the Red Sox have rocketed into a wildcard playoff spot and transformed from sellers to legitimate October contenders. So what the hell happened? And I mean, Rafael Devers has been an absolute catastrophe since putting on a Giants uniform. The numbers are so bad. Since joining San Francisco, Devers is hitting .219 with just a couple of home runs in 43 games. His OPS has nosedived to .715. That's nearly 200 points lower than his .905 mark with Boston. So for context, this is a guy who mashed 15 home runs in 73 games with the Red Sox this season, and he's managed barely a third of that production in San Francisco. Sports Illustrated's devastating statistical breakdown reveals the true scope of this disaster. Devers' .715 OPS would be the worst of his entire career. His WRC plus of 107 ranks a mediocre 18th amongst designated hitters. His .318 WOBA is dramatically below his career mark of .359. But here's the stat that should terrify Giants fans. The team has actually scored fewer runs per game, 3.6, with Devers than they did without him, 4.3. Think about the insanity of that statement. The Giants traded prospects and absorbed a $250 million contract to make their offense worse. This isn't just underperformance. This is organizational sabotage disguised as a blockbuster acquisition. Meanwhile, something absolutely magical has been happening in Boston. The Red Sox haven't just been good without Devers. They've been amazing. They're averaging 5.5 runs per game since the trade, went on a stunning 10-game winning streak before the All-Star break, and have completely revolutionized their organizational culture. The beautiful irony of this is that they've accomplished this transformation without getting any meaningful contribution from the players they received in the trade. Harrison and Hicks have combined for just 3 2/3 innings and negative WAR for Boston. Instead, their young core has exploded. Roman Anthony hit his first big league home run the day after the trade. Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer have stepped up dramatically. The team chemistry has gone from toxic to electric overnight. It's like removing removing one poisonous part allowed the entire organization to remember what it was actually capable of doing and becoming. The financial implications of this trade are even more staggering than the on-field results. The Red Sox used their newfound financial flexibility to sign Roman Anthony to an 8-year, $130 million extension with escalators that could hit $230 million. So let that sink in. They traded away a disgruntled, expensive veteran and immediately invested those savings in locking up their future superstar for the next decade. Like, that is a chef's kiss chess move that transforms franchises for generations. And remember all that criticism that Craig Breslow endured for this trade? All that social media outrage, all the comparisons to the disastrous Mookie Betts deal or the Luka for AD deal? MLB insider John Heyman just delivered the ultimate vindication, calling the Devers trade a godsend for Boston. From the Red Sox standpoint, it was a godsend, Heyman declared. Let's be honest about it. I mean, I know Devers was doing well, but they didn't have a ton of teams in on him. This was a DH for them. Breslow identified something that statistics couldn't measure: the negative effect of individual toxicity on team success. He had the courage to prioritize organizational culture over individual talent, even when that talent was making $30+ million a year. And the results speak for themselves. So what went so catastrophically wrong in San Francisco? Now, part of it is the environment. Fenway Park ranks second in baseball with a 105 park factor, while Oracle Park sits near the bottom at 96. Devers lost all those cheap doubles off the Green Monster that inflated his Boston numbers. But the deeper issue is cultural. The Giants didn't just acquire Devers' bat, they inherited his attitude problems. While Boston's clubhouse chemistry improved dramatically after removing a toxic person, San Francisco imported those same toxic dynamics. And the offensive collapse has been historic. Since the trade, the Giants have scored the fewest runs in baseball despite adding an all-star hitter. They've lost 8 straight home games and are 2-12 over their last 14. USA Today's Bob Nightingale captured the organizational despair perfectly. The San Francisco Giants, who figured they would challenge the Dodgers for the NL West title after acquiring Rafael Devers, are now in a complete freefall. And this isn't just bad luck. This is a franchise-altering mistake that could haunt the organization for years. This trade is proof that addition by subtraction isn't just a cliche. It's a legitimate organizational strategy when executed with precision and courage. The Red Sox identified that chemistry, culture, and team cohesion matter just as much as individual statistics. They made the decision to prioritize long-term organizational health over short-term talent retention. The Giants took the traditional approach: acquire the best available talent and assume everything else will work itself out. They focused on solving their offensive struggles without considering the intangible factors that create successful teams. One philosophy has led to playoff contention and sustainable success. The other has created an expensive disaster that threatens to derail multiple seasons for the Giants. And here's where this gets really interesting. As Newsweek's Tim Crowley observed, we're still in the early stages of this story. Devers is bound to get back to all-star form at the plate over the course of his career in San Francisco. He's under contract through the 2033 season. That's plenty of time to shift the narrative for the Giants. But that's precisely what makes this situation so fascinating and potentially terrifying for San Francisco and their fans. They've committed to this relationship for 8 more years. Regardless of how it developed, there's no escape hatch, no reset button, no way to undo this decision. And the Red Sox, meanwhile, have positioned themselves for sustained success with financial flexibility and a culture of accountability that extends far beyond any individual player. For Boston, this trade has been nothing short of transformative. ESPN reported that the Red Sox shifted from potential sellers to active buyers at the trade deadline, and they pursued pitching up as legitimate playoff contenders that they are now. They've proven that organizational courage and cultural clarity can overcome the loss of individual talent. They've shown that sometimes the hardest decisions create the most lasting success. For San Francisco, the path forward is infinitely more complicated. Sports Illustrated noted they must regroup and build around Devers moving forward. But that's a monumental challenge when your centerpiece isn't producing and your organizational momentum has completely stalled. And there's already been stories from San Francisco of Devers not showing up to practice playing first base. So the Giants really have a lot on their hands here. The beauty in all of this is really just that the Red Sox were universally criticized for supposedly giving up on their 2025 playoff hopes by trading Devers. Instead, that trade might be exactly the reason that they make the playoffs this year. The Giants were praised for their aggressive pursuit of 2025 championship contention by acquiring Devers. Instead, that acquisition has essentially ended their realistic playoff hopes and created questions about the organization's decision-making that could persist for years. Now, trade evaluations typically require years of perspective to look back and reach these definitive conclusions. And we've learned that lesson repeatedly throughout baseball history. What we can state with absolute certainty is that the immediate impact of this trade has been stunning. Craig Breslow and the Red Sox organization deserve a round of applause and recognition for identifying cultural problems that statistics can't measure. They demonstrated that the organization's approach to prioritize team chemistry over individual talent, even when that meant trading away their highest paid player, but also one of their best producing ones, was the right move. The Giants, meanwhile, are learning an expensive lesson about the difference between acquiring talent and building sustainable success. Sometimes the most obvious move isn't the right move for your organization. So this trade has become a masterclass in modern baseball decision making, further proving the point we all know: chemistry matters, culture is real. And as a GM, the courage to take that criticism and make that move can lead to incredible outcomes. So there you have it. A deal that appeared to be organizational highway robbery has transformed into a potential decade-defining disaster for the winners, San Francisco Giants. A trade that looked like giving up on this season has become an instant success and a blueprint for sustaining success for the losers, the Boston Red Sox. But what's your take? Are we watching the trade disaster of the decade unfold in real time? Will Devers bounce back and completely flip the narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. That's all for today though, and I'll see you guys on the next one.